Yeah, I want to talk about invasive plants that take over your garden. I want to explain them. There is a bit of a logical scenario that might help you getting rid of them or controlling them. So let's say you have a plant that is taking over your garden. It's slowly spreading. So you have to say, okay, how is it spreading? How is it doing that? How is it getting from A to B in my garden? Is it using seeds? Is it using rhizomes? Is it moving into a direction where I don't even know how they're doing it? On our property here in Ecuador, we have two plants that are annoying. Actually, three plants, including this guy here. So we have this small geranium, and we have strawberries, wild strawberries. So here's the geranium. This grows everywhere. And here's the strawberry. Quite similar in looks, quite similar in behavior. So if I pull on these, I get 90% of the roots out. So they're very easy to control. They're not an issue for me. They're just a plague. I can control them in one afternoon by having somebody or myself rip them all out. So they're gone. They're controllable. They're not a problem. Now there are other plants that are the complete opposite. You pull them out, the roots break off. Comfrey. There's many other plants that sort of dandelion fits in that category if you don't like dandelion. So this breaking off of the root system is a protectionism that allows that plant to start to grow again. So we have those. How do you deal with those types of plants? Either you pull the head off all the time or you dig out the roots. In some instances, it's really worthwhile to dig out the roots and to get rid of the plant forever. Now, the next problem is if you have a neighbor that doesn't clean their yard and all their weeds come over the fence into your yard. That's a complete different other problem. A lot of times it's worthwhile to ask the neighbor if you can go in and take all the heads off, the seed heads off before they flower. That's a good option. So there's many problems of plants that don't belong in your garden coming into your garden. That's a total different issue. If you're a good gardener, you say to yourself, do I want this plant in my garden or do I not? So do you spend a whole day ripping out all the English ivy? Do you get rid of all the bugleweed? Whatever your arch nemesis is, do you spend that day and get it right out of your property? That is the question. Like, do you spend that effort to do that? Is it a worthwhile investment? Probably, especially if it annoys you. It is a very good investment to do. Now, these invasive plants are also a lot of times the gardener's fault. So I'll give you an example. I've moved these guys around in my garden. I was the physical person that moved them around. And now they're turning quite invasive. They're quite prolific in the garden. So I have to make up my mind what I'm going to do with these. Do I rip them out? Do I thin them out? Whatever it may be, but you have to make a decision on what you're going to do with these invasive plants. These invasive plants have another very interesting part about them is they are very aggressive towards other plants. Most plants in my garden, they don't take away the life of other plants, but these aggressive plants have a different attitude. They want to conquer space. So they're very mobile in terms of how they're moving through the garden. And you got to be very cautious about them because they will be very aggressive towards your plant diversity that you have in your garden. So it's very important to pay attention that they're not smothering out plants that aren't as aggressive. The advice I want to give is analyze right away in your garden, and we all have arch nemesis, these plants that are just so annoying towards us. So analyze what these plants are, where they are in your garden, how they're moving about, when their flowering time is so you can cut off the seed heads. So it's not necessarily the plant's fault, it's more your fault not paying attention to what the plant is doing, how it spreads, how the root system works on this plant. So the plant's giving you all the answers on how to get rid of it, how to control it, how to slow it down. The answers are all there. You just have to observe that plant and try to figure out how you're going to satisfy your own need as a gardener how you're going to deal with this plant and how you're going to control it.